area. Of course, just 2 weeks after the historically destructive tornado that hit Moore. That is all in for this evening. Our coverage continues with the Rachel Maddow Show. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Chris. Thank you. And thanks to At Home for being with us this hour. It is now 9 p.m. here on the East Coast, and we are tracking another round of potentially deadly tornadoes in the state of Oklahoma. God bless Oklahoma. It was just 1 week ago, last Monday, that a massive EF5 tornado touched down in the city of Moore, Oklahoma. It's a suburb of Oklahoma City. The Moore tornado killed 24 people. Tonight, that same area in central Oklahoma is hunkering down once again. It's almost impossible to believe. Within the last hour, a mile-wide tornado was reported to have touched down just west of Oklahoma City. There have been reports of overturned vehicles, of downed power lines, as well as damage to a number of structures already in the area. For the last 90 minutes or so, these tornadoes have essentially been traveling eastbound right along one of the major highways in central Oklahoma, right along Interstate 40. That highway has been completely shut down in the Oklahoma City area, and the Oklahoma Highway Patrol has been warning motorists traveling along I-40 to exit the highway and immediately seek shelter. Interstate 40 funnels right into downtown Oklahoma City, and that appears to be the path that these tornadoes have chosen to take tonight. Among the major population centers in the path of the storm is not a city at all. It's Will Rogers World Airport in Oklahoma City. According to the airport's website, more than 1,000 passengers at the airport were moved to underground tunnels and shelters inside the airport tonight. All flights in and out of Will Rogers Airport obviously have been canceled. NBC's Janet Shamlian is at the airport, and she reports to us that passengers inside the airport were moved away from the windows. They were told to go underground. They were instructed to put their hands on their heads. Now, in terms of injuries and, I have to say, potential fatalities, the Associated Press is reporting as of now that a number of motorists along Interstate 40 have been hurt in this storm, and that others are either missing or stranded at this hour. Our local affiliate in Oklahoma City, KFOR, is doing an amazing job tonight. They report thus far that more than 22,000 people in the area are without power. They report that these power outages extend now to the historic district in the state capital right in Oklahoma City. But again, the breaking news at this hour is that central Oklahoma is yet again right in the path of another massive storm system tonight. The storm has already produced a reported tornado just west of Oklahoma City, and within the last hour, a tornado emergency has also been declared for parts of Moore, Oklahoma. And the reason that name is so familiar to you is because Moore is the city that faced a devastating tornado and almost unbelievable destruction just a little bit more than a week ago. I want to bring in MSNBC meteorologist Dylan Dreyer, who's been focusing on this very closely. Dylan, what's the latest on the trajectory and where it's heading now?
Well, it is right now moving southeast only at about 20 miles per hour. And looking at the radar, you see these boxes that keep popping up. I kept the tornado warning boxes in effect on this radar. So that's what you're seeing flashing across the screen there. And you see just south of Oklahoma City, which at one point was under this tornado warning, you can see there is Moore, Oklahoma, and it has been in and out of these tornado warnings for the last half hour to 45 minutes. And the one that is right over Moore right now that extends east across I-40, which is that highway that was shut down, it is in effect until 8:30. But not only is it for the possibility of these tornadoes that this entire thunderstorm has been producing these tornadoes for the past several hours from that town El Reno you see on the left side of the screen there. This is how long it's been taking to move to the south and east. It has been a very, very slow process. But within these storms, not only do they have the potential of touching down these tornadoes, these funnel clouds, but there are reports of 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Those are your straight line wind gusts. Tennis ball to softball sized hail also reported, along with the torrential downpours and the dangerous lightning. So, you know, I watched this develop a couple hours ago, slowly watched it trek across Interstate 40, and it has been in that time that it's become, you know, going from a rural area storm to a much more urban area. And hearing that Oklahoma City itself was evacuated, and the hotels and the airport with everyone going underground, that is what the local meteorologists are advising.
In terms of, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, they're just saying you have to get underground. It's not safe enough with storms these big to just be in an interior room or a bathroom. Underground is the safest place to be at this moment.
Dylan, in terms of people watching nationally and trying to have their bearings in terms of these various warnings and when they're in effect and everything, we should say right now it's 9:04 p.m. on the East Coast. It's 8:04 p.m. local time in Oklahoma City. You will hear us give times on the air tonight that are specific to anybody who might be in harm's way in this central Oklahoma storm system. Dylan, let me just ask you for your opinion, talking about the storm system moving so slowly, talking about it traveling at about 20 miles per hour, which is slow for a storm system like this. Does that tell us anything about the eventual damage that it might cause or anything about the strength of the storm? We're used to connecting the speed of the storm with strength of the storm when it comes to hurricanes, for example.
Right, of course. And you know, the faster it's moving, the faster the winds are in a hurricane situation. But what I'm talking about when I say, you know, the tornado itself is moving 20 to 30 miles per hour, that's the actual tornado. But the bigger picture is the storm that's producing these tornadoes. That's the one that's not moving quite as quickly. So you have, you know, this big cloud that produces these tornadoes, and these are moving pretty quickly, but the storm itself that's capable of producing these tornadoes is very sluggish, and it's moving over the same area for a long period of time. This tornado watch is in effect until midnight Central Time. That's 1 o'clock East Coast time. That's a long period of time, and these storms have this history of producing the tornadoes as we've seen, and unfortunately they are under this threat for several more hours.
MSNBC meteorologist Dylan Dreyer, I know we will be checking back in with you. Thanks, Dylan. I appreciate it. We're going to go right now to the NBC affiliate in Oklahoma City, which is KFOR. They covered these severe storms with incredible knowledge and detail. There's no better coverage anywhere in the country than what KFOR is doing right now. Let's go to them.
Bank statements from the El Reno area floating into Luther. I mean, that's Canadian County all the way to the east side of Oklahoma County. So we're hearing about some things. We have no doubt we're going to get some serious damage reports coming in a little bit later. But right now we're trying to track where this thing is going and to get folks out of the way of that. We also have crews out looking for damage and any injuries as well.
And we've been talking about those power poles. You have heard about that, seen some pictures. Well, we now have word of 40,000 Metro residents without power. We believe those numbers will rise. That is being currently reported, that's what those without power. Another big problem out there is flash flooding. And we've been told that people at Crossroads Mall are actually stuck in the parking lot because of the flooding. And they are having a hard time getting out. And again, we're having a hard time with the rescue crews and emergency vehicles getting to those who do need help at this point in time. So if you have a loved one who you know is down in that area, please keep those cell lines, you know, keep your cell phones right by you. Make sure you're in contact with that person because they may be having a tough time getting out of there.
We at one point we had 1,000 people, 1,000 in the tunnels underneath Will Rogers World Airport. The storm was coming that way and they got 1,000 people under there. Also at the hockey game, the Barons playoff hockey game, they had to get folks over to the Chesapeake Arena to keep them safe from the storm as well. All that we believe was handled very well.
Very well, and we believe that those people are safe. We want to go back over to Mike, who of course is watching all these tornadoes popping up on the ground and continuing. Mike.
Well, here's what we have right now, Meg. These tornadoes that we have here in the South Metro, I may be wrong, but they appear to be reasonably weak right now. There's one near Newcastle, there's one in northeast Norman, and there's one over here near Draper Lake. All three of these appear to be reasonably weak. I wouldn't say weak, but reasonably weak. The strongest one is out here by Minco. That has a tornado warning on it as well. Let's go to Lance West. He's out on the damage track out on I-40 with an update live. Lance?
Mike, we're traveling about 5 miles an hour in the westbound lanes of I-40. We finally made it. Boy, it is a mess out here. There's debris all over the interstate. We've seen several overturned vehicles. There appears to be a cattle ranch about 2 miles to the west of Banner Road on I-40 that took a direct hit. And the tin from that particular barn, it just spread all over the interstate, broken power lines and trees. There are highway patrol troopers out here all over the place trying to make sure that everyone's okay. But it's a mess, my friend. This is going to be a huge cleanup project, and we can just only hope and pray that there are no fatalities because there are cars all over the place.
Lance, appreciate that. Let's go back to the storm tracker. We're going to check with Mark Dillard here next. and coming up here. So this is strong circulation here. This is a dangerous storm out here by Minco, and it is traveling southeastward. So you see Bridge Creek over toward Newcastle, Lloyd Noble. Yes, over toward Washington and Lloyd Noble Center there.
This is our local coverage from KFOR, which is the Oklahoma City affiliate for NBC. I want to go now to NBC's Janet Shamlian, who is in an underground shelter at the Oklahoma City airport. Janet, thank you very much for calling in. What can you tell us about how things are at the airport, both the weather scene there and how people are coping?
All right, Rachel, first let me explain that connectivity is very limited. I'm lucky to have the call out, so you may lose me. There are about 1,200 people now underground in a, basically it's a shelter for us now, but usually it's a walkway from the parking lot that connects to the terminal here at the Oklahoma City airport. After doing nightly news, I came here, and as soon as I got into the airport, the siren sounded, and they herded everyone downstairs. For a time, they asked us to put our hands over our heads and move away from the windows. There are some windows, even though we're in essentially an underground tunnel. And we've been told one system is passed over, but we are still very much in danger. Now, there is a window I can see out of. We're getting hail, heavy, heavy rain, dark skies, lightning. About 30 minutes ago, it looked like a hurricane was pushing against the window. There was so much water, but that has tapered off some. Still, they are asking everyone to stay underneath here. People are desperately trying to get signals out. You've got everyone from pilots to TSA to passengers to just people who knew that this underground tunnel existed and came here seeking shelter. Again, some 1,200 people. They brought their pets. There are children. Airport workers have walked through with bottles of water for children, and everyone seems to be calm at this point, but we are still in the midst of a big storm overhead, and they're not letting anyone out anytime soon, Rachel.
Yeah, Janet, have they given you any sort of time frame in terms of when you might be getting an all clear, or how long they think everybody will have to stay there?
They've been really great with updates. A man with a megaphone has been walking through, and he said, hey, the good news is we're between systems, but we've got another one coming. It's not as severe. He hasn't put a time limit on it, per se. We've been in here now, I would say, approaching 90 minutes.
Wow.
And, obviously every flight is canceled, and everyone realizes that, but no one is attempting to leave. And there are a few windows you can see out of. People are looking and trying to hold their cell phone up and get a signal out, such as I'm doing, but no one is even thinking about going out in what we're seeing here.
Well, Janet, what they're describing here in terms of our MSNBC meteorologists is a very, very slow-moving storm, which is why the tornado warnings and tornado watches are in place for such long windows of time. So when they talk about a slow-moving storm and being in between systems, that's exactly what we're seeing on the video that we can access here. And so please keep us apprised. I know connectivity is difficult, but please let us know how things pan out there at the airport and what happens. Thanks.
Okay.
Janet Shamlian calling us from the Oklahoma City airport. Just to reiterate what she's saying there are 1,200 people in her estimation who are underground taking shelter at the Will Rogers World Airport in Oklahoma City. They're sheltering in what is effectively a walkway between the parking lot and the terminal, but it's underground and considered to be a safe space. Everybody from TSA employees to passengers to pilots to everybody who was in that facility down there sheltering, waiting for the all clear. But right now, Janet describes they're experiencing right now hail, heavy rain, lightning, and they're expecting further parts of this storm system to drive through. I want to bring into the conversation now Oklahoma's Lieutenant Governor Todd Lamb, who we spoke with last week during the devastation and the aftermath in Moore, Oklahoma. Mr. Lieutenant Governor, we appreciate having you with us tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome, Rachel.
What are you able to tell us thus far about damage or the scope of what these storms have done thus far?
Well, it's very preliminary right now. My office has been in contact with the Emergency Operations Center here in Oklahoma, and I visited with my Chief of Staff just moments ago, and it's just too early to tell as far as any assessments at this time. What we do know from the utility service, this was about 15 minutes ago, just over 31,000 are without power right now, and I visited with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. This is an unofficial report, Rachel, but visiting with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, we have some significant roads and part of interstate byways, not the major interstate, but they're underwater right now. Some of the main thoroughfares to the metro area, which makes getting from one place to another very difficult. I expect that to recede, but those are just some initial reports right now, and we still have tornado sirens going off.
We have been hearing from KFOR, from our affiliate in Oklahoma City, too, especially about flash flooding and some roads being underwater, some parking lots being underwater. Do you expect that that will affect any evacuation plans or the ability of rescue crews and emergency responders to get where they need to get to?
It certainly will, and I know I heard the guest you had a moment ago. I think she was at Will Rogers World Airport, our major airport in Oklahoma City, and that's where the storm headed, and there were touchdowns of tornadoes around the area, not actually at the airport. But the one of the major junctions, the Amarillo Junction, I believe it's called, is underwater right now, parts of it at least. And just if you want to, evacuate, if you want to go for help, if you need first responders or, an ambulance. Ambulance went by my house a moment ago. I think they were turned around in the wrong neighborhood. But it certainly will when you have that high water. It'll impact everything.
When we're hearing advice from the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, for example, that motorists who are on or around Interstate 40 should leave the highway and should take shelter. What kind of shelter should people be looking for if they are caught out on the road and they're told, they're listening to the media and they're advised to take shelter? What kind of shelter?
Well, that's a very tough question to answer, of course. You always want to get off the road in a storm, particularly when there's potential for tornadic activity. What is, heightened even more with this storm that's going through Oklahoma right now, it was following Interstate 40 for some time. I believe it's veered off to the south side, and I'm looking at a lot of reports right now. I think that's gone south of Interstate 40. But, of course, you want to get off the interstate, get out of your vehicle, find a structure of some sort, and hopefully a concrete structure above ground, or if you know of a public storm shelter nearby, evacuate to that location as quickly as possible. That's why it's tough to do, Rachel, sometimes, but it's important to try to have that plan ahead of time. But if you're a traveler and you're unfamiliar with the weather activity or unfamiliar with your area, just try to get off that road as quickly as possible and seek some sort of shelter that looks safe and secure.
It was clear for a long time today that it looked like there was going to be severe weather. These tornado warnings and watches were in effect in advance of these storms rolling through directly. Do you feel that people in and around Oklahoma City were prepared for this, knew it was coming? Did people leave work and get to places where they could be safe in advance of this storm rolling through?
I think it gives me an opportunity to brag on the meteorologists we have in Oklahoma once again. They were talking about possible tornadic activity yesterday and the day before. We had some outbreaks of tornadoes in the last 2 to 3 days in Oklahoma. We had a lot of advance warning as far as this potential for tornadic activity. And as I've talked to you, Rachel, the tornado sirens have gone off once, maybe twice. I think that's probably the 8th or 9th time in northwest part of Oklahoma City, where I am right now, that we've had tornado sirens go off, and it's a warning system, whether it's the warning of the sirens themselves or the meteorologist warning us for the potential for tornadic activity. I think the warning signs have been out there, and I want to thank our meteorologists for doing a fantastic job once again.
Lieutenant Governor for the great state of Oklahoma, the nation's thoughts and prayers are with you again tonight as you hunker down there, sir. Thank you very much for being with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rachel, and you're welcome. Thank you.
Good luck. All right, we're going to go back to NBC's affiliate in Oklahoma City, KFOR, who in the last couple of moments has started talking about another tornado on the ground. Let's go to them.
Norman.
Yep, the heavy power flash just got super dark. I can't see our shot, obviously, but it is so dark in there. And just north, that's not the rain anymore. I mean, part of it is the rain. However, as soon as that last power flash we hit, everything north of like what I would say would be like Indian Hills or 240 is gone as far as the power. It just completely got blacked out. We can see a definite lowering of the cloud right there. It appears it's going to be just a few miles, 2 or 3 miles north of the Postal Training Center there, which is on Highway 9. But we're still seeing tons of power flashes in the same area. It's almost like this, if it is a tornado on the ground, it's kind of stalled out, and it's just sitting there ripping and grinding that whole area. So, if you're still in this area, definitely stay in your shelter. We plead with you, stay in your shelter, stay out of the ground. My wife texted me a minute ago and asked me to get out. I told her, no, stay put. So if you're in this area, you're listening to us on the radio, you're able to watch us on TV, you got some buzz on, stay in the air or stay underground, stay in your storm shelter. This storm is not through. We're still seeing several power flashes, and the roadways are completely congested. So hunker down. Do not try and get out, because if this thing continues to cross and goes and hits Center Road there, Mike, it's going to be catastrophic. we got four lanes. All looks like they're going southbound. So, stay in your area there, Mike.
Okay, appreciate that. The report there from Norman with the tornado still going through Norman. There's another really significant circulation over by Twin Lakes and Fire Lake Grand Casino, right? Fire Lake Grand Casino over on 40 near the county line, the Pottawatomie County line, far southeastern Oklahoma County, far northeastern Cleveland County. That's the lead storm that produced the tornado in South Oklahoma City, and there's still a significant circulation there as well. So you folks in Shawnee and Tecumseh, stay alert. Stay alert. There is a tornado warning in effect for Pottawatomie County for that storm. That's Twin Lakes, Dale, Shawnee, Tecumseh, the Stella area east of Draper Lake, but Twin Lakes, Dale, Shawnee, Tecumseh. You folks stay alert there as there is a tornado warning for Pottawatomie County, and that is the lead circulation that produced the tornado in South Oklahoma City, and it continues to track toward Shawnee OBU. So Pottawatomie County, you folks still continue with a tornado warning there. Let's go back to Mark Dillard with an update. Mark?
Yes, Mike. Still watching for power flashes off to my due west now. We're on 36 heading south, trying to hit Highway 9 where we can at least get some east-west access so I can look at this thing without having to bail on it so fast. My winds are just crazy out here, Mike. We're whipping back into this thing. Coming up, give me 1 second. I'll have the intersection here. Okay.
All right. Let's go to Adam Mertz about the bad flooding problem we have going on. Adam?
Yeah, Mike, we are on Council Road right by I-40, right almost where you get into the outlet malls here, and the flooding right up this portion of Council is anywhere between, at some points, at least a foot, but at other points, 3 to 4, or depending upon where you're at. And that might be a little bit of an exaggeration. It's anywhere between about 1 to 3 feet. We have a couple cars stuck in some of this flooding. They've stopped because they simply cannot get through this area. There are several businesses around here that are also closed, but the flooding is certainly a problem right here at I-40 and Council Road. So certainly avoid this area completely.
Appreciate that, Adam. Flash flood warnings in effect for Oklahoma and Canadian County as well as Cleveland County. A serious flooding situation. The rain continues to come down along with large hail. Biggest hail is in the South Metro right now. Let's go back to John Welsh and Bob Moore Chopper 4. John, still right over Norman, really. I mean, directly over like the OU campus heading straight southbound. What are you seeing through there?
Yeah, that's pretty much what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of heavy lightning right now, which pretty much allows us to see the scud cloud. We haven't seen any funnels or anything drop out when we get the lightning flash in the background, but it kind of helps us illuminate and see the backside of that storm. But it's pretty much it's set over Norman, and it's almost like this thing is just taking pretty much a straight south track. I've kind of had to move all the way down to the south of David J. Perry Airport. I'm actually just south of the Riverwind Casino, shooting back up to the north, and this thing just continues to push us down south. But we got a lot of rain up there. We haven't seen any power flashes in the last few minutes. We're over I-35 and about the Riverwind Casino, shooting back to the north. And it's just, it looks like a monsoon, a tornado, all in a hurricane, all wrapped up into one. It's a very terrible sight. So definitely this area is nothing to play with here, Mike.
All right, John, appreciate that. We're showing the highest velocity wind shear. It appears to be on the east side of Norman, but we're also showing some really high velocity winds out of the north through Norman right now. So it's either a tornado or it's damaging straight line winds. We're showing winds in the 80-mile-per-hour range. So, yeah, those are the velocities right there out of the north. So this is damaging straight line winds on the backside of the hook, which is over the east central to central parts of Norman. But this is a high-velocity north wind here. Some of that may be the power flashes that we're seeing. But the tornado warning very much continues for McLean and for Cleveland County, also for Pottawatomie County. Let's go to the south Doppler here and take a look at Norman again, a little closer look. So you can clearly see the hook. You can clearly see the hook through here, right through here, and this is all inflow right here. So right over the OU campus is where that all is focused. So you want to be away from windows, completely away from any windows all around the OU campus. It is heading straight southbound through Norman right now. Let's go back to John Welsh and take a look. John, what do you have?
Yeah, Mike, right now we have to kind of break away this cloud. We have a huge shelf cloud that's kind of coming over and it's pushing all the way down into Purcell. I'm just north of Purcell, just in between Purcell and Lexington. We're kind of shooting back towards the north, and the OU campus, that whole area is black. It is extremely violent here, heavy wind, at least moderate turbulence here. The whole town of Norman is black. We can barely see the Highway 9, the east-west road there on the south side of town. Tons and tons of lightning. We haven't seen any power flashes in the last few minutes. However, it appears that there is still a lot of heavy rain, and what you're showing on radar, there still could be a tornado in there. The thing that we can't see is through all the rain and the scud and everything else. So some of those power flashes are kind of masked by just the sheer darkness of the storm, and as night falls, we're not getting any ambient light on the backside of it. So it's definitely a scary situation there over more. We're going to call it the heaviest stuff is going to be probably just a mile north of Highway 9 there, Mike.
Okay, appreciate that.
We're going to be dipping in and out of the KFOR coverage direct from Oklahoma City. Obviously, they are earning their keep there times 10, both the meteorologists, those helicopter pilots, and the correspondents there and anchors keeping an eye on what's happening in the Oklahoma City region. I want to go now to Oklahoma City to NBC News correspondent Jay Gray, who's in downtown Oklahoma City. Jay, what are you seeing now, and how serious are the weather conditions at this moment?
Hey, Rachel, we've seen a bit of a lull, but I hate to say it's picking up again. The rain's picking up dramatically. The wind's starting to pick up as well. Just from our limited vantage point, which is across the street from a public shelter here where there are hundreds, if not 1,000 people inside, I've seen some small trees that are uprooted, some awnings ripped away from buildings, outdoor furniture scattered, things you would expect with heavy wind. We're hearing of a lot more severe damage. Lightning has intensified here, thunder obviously, and then the wind's beginning to pull again. You can see the circulation when those flashes of lightning go off. It's unclear at this point, and I'm just trying to get a good look of any funnel on the ground. It would seem that that's more outside the city at this point, and unfortunately, as we've heard the local affiliate talking about, it looks like more is tragically again in the crosshairs of that.
Jay, let me ask you, from your vantage point in Oklahoma City, when was it clear that people needed to start following emergency protocols? You're describing that public shelter that you're near. When did people start taking shelter?
Well, the good news is a lot of businesses let their employees leave early in the afternoon. When I say early, 2, 3 in the afternoon, telling them to go home, make sure their family's safe, and get into their safe spot. So a lot of people left the downtown area at that point because the conditions were really gathering and taking shape to be very severe. Unfortunately, there were 2 sporting events downtown, a minor league baseball game and a minor league hockey playoff game that were not canceled. And so a lot of people obviously coming down for Friday evening to take in one of those events or go to the restaurants down here. And those are the people that had to pile in. They did get early warning. The sirens have been sounding continuously here in the downtown area. The hotel that we're staying in just across the street from the arena and the convention center, where there are 2 public shelters, sounded alarms and ushered everybody into shelters very early in this process. So there was a lot of warning. This is an area that, as you've talked about, is familiar with tornadoes and understands how severe they can be. Not familiar with 2 major tornadoes striking areas where so many people are. You know, a lot of times there are outbreaks and they will rip up farmers' fields and areas like that in the plains, but these 2, it appears, have taken aim at very heavily populated areas, Rachel.
NBC News correspondent Jay Gray. Jay, please do stay safe, and I don't need to tell you this, but keep your own shelter responsibilities in mind too. But stay in touch with us as you can. Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you. I want to go now to MSNBC meteorologist Dylan Dreyer. Dylan, we've heard that there are reports of further tornado activity actually in St. Louis. What do we have?
Yes, we have been knowing for a while now that there was a large area of the Midwest under the gun with these storms, but we do have a tornado warning in the St. Louis area. We also had reports of a warning that has just expired actually near St. Louis Airport, but this one is a faster storm. It's moving east at about 50 miles per hour as opposed close to the ones in Oklahoma, moving at about 25 miles per hour. The radar has indicated a developing tornado. You can see just north of St. Louis there, that red box that pops up. That's the tornado warning that is in effect until 8:45 Central Time. So about another 15 minutes now, and there has been reports of damage in a town called St. Anne. And it does look like the spotters have seen the funnel cloud, and there is rotation in the radar. So that is the latest area in Missouri now that is under the gun with this tornado warning. They've been popping up all across the Midwest.
Dylan, let me ask you one question about an earlier report that we had from the Oklahoma City area storms, which I just did not understand, which is the idea that the tornado, at least one of the tornadoes that touched down, had two funnels. How does that happen, and what does that mean?
It was called a multi